iRacing.com is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all over the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics and engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. iRacing's web-based interface allows members to compare stats and test drive any combination of car and track instantly. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 60,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsport organizations like SRO Motorsports Group to deliver virtual races based on the real-life Blancpain GT series. iRacing's Blancpain Endurance Series features team racing, giving members the ability to build a team and participate in races ranging from 3 hours to 24 hours. Additional partners include NASCAR, IMSA, V8 Supercars, IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own 24 hours of Spa, Bathurst 1000, Daytona 500, and many more. iRacing.com, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car.
Introducing a whole new form of racing to the best online racing simulation in the world. This is Dirt Racing on iRacing.com. Race online at some of America's most legendary dirt tracks, including Eldora and Williams Grove. iRacing is the premier online racing game featuring NASCAR, IndyCar, sports cars, and now World of Outlaws, the leading sanctioning body for dirt racing. iRacing is easy to use and features a centralized ranking system to make sure you have the best experience at any skill level. With a massive inventory of high-precision laser scan tracks and cars with an unmatched dedication to quality and detail, iRacing gives you the most authentic online racing experience available. Thanks to iRacing's dynamic track system, developed specifically for dirt racing, tracks change over the course of a race, just like your favorite dirt track on a Friday or Saturday night. From a slick racing groove all the way up to the cushion, iRacing's dirt tracks deliver non-stop racing action. Partnered with the World of Outlaws, iRacing is your source for the most authentic dirt racing experience available, featuring 4 brand new tracks and 11 new cars, including street stocks, Legends cars, late models, NASCAR trucks, winged and non-winged sprint cars, with much more on the way. Join the Dirt Revolution on iRacing.com and start slinging mud today.
8 of the Oceanic Sprint Championship this Wednesday night. We're here for round 8 of the championship at Homestead Miami Speedway, getting ready for some GT3 racing around a combined road and oval course. My name is Reese Gardner, and joining me in the commentary box, Cameron Dance. Hey, Cameron, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing quite well, actually. It's good to have you back, Reese, actually, now that I think about it. So, yeah, it's going to be quite an interesting race being around the one and only road course this season. Roval is probably the better term this season. Getting confused. Anyway, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with it being such an interesting circuit like it is.
Yeah, we're using the B road course layout. Usually the road course used at Homestead is the A layout that cuts out the oval's banking entirely, but this B layout, it uses the final 2 turns of the oval, or final 1 turn if you don't count it like NASCAR do. But big drafting opportunities, and these cars are kind of pushing for grip through that last turn, especially in a draft. So this is going to be a very interesting race when we get around to it.
Yeah, indeed it will. And it'll be very much a matter of who can get a run to the line out of that hairpin heading down towards the NASCAR turns 3 and 4 and then across the start finishes. It was a very, very long run to the first corner, and it is very much going to be straight line domination.
Yeah, certainly is. So obviously with straight line speed being the order of the day, we've got Mercedes galore here at Homestead. In fact, the top 5 cars at the very least are Mercedes from what I can see. So the top 6 I've just been told by Mr. Kennedy, our director. So yeah, that top speed range of the Mercedes AMG GT3 is definitely of a benefit here, and the times up the front are very close. Ross Rizzo is currently on pole with a 1 minute 11.874. Anthony Winkleman an 11.897. So only a couple of hundredths separating the top 2 there. Trent Thomas not too far behind either, just half a tenth behind, completing the top 3.
Yeah, indeed, it's very, very tight in the times at the moment. Second, pretty much separating the top 12 by the looks of it. Actually, no, the top 13. So it's very close out there, considering it's pretty much 3 cars manufacturers anyway out there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the race.
Yeah, it certainly will. We'll, as I said, we'll be seeing drafting galore on the oval section of the circuit, but that twisty infield section is definitely something to consider as well. Aside from the fast turn 1, there's not many quick turns here aside from NASCAR 3 and 4, are there? I mean, we've got 1, 2, I'd say 4 hairpins alone in the infield section. We've also got a couple of right angle turns to contend with as well. So traction and turn-in are everything here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very, very technical in that infield section of the circuit, with it being a lot of stop-start sort of stuff. So it's going to be very, very vital that you can get a good, nice, clean run through there so that you can optimize your exit onto the oval part of the circuit.
Yep, and speaking of that, Anthony Winkleman has just started another hot lap as he comes down to turn 1 through that scary fast turn 1, braking immediately for turn 2. And then down into a very interesting section of turns here. We got a right-hander and then a slightly banked left. Sorry, I'm completely getting my lefts and rights confused tonight. It's been a long day. That's my excuse. Anthony Winkleman braking for a right-hander. Yes, this is indeed a right-hander, Reese. You got it right that time. Then flat out through this right-hander and onto a little back section. Looking out for the braking point at that light pole. Hard on the brakes, down into 2nd gear. And then hard on the throttle, out over that exit curve, and then it's completely flat out from here on out. On a qualifying lap anyway. We'll see what that's like in the race. Anthony Winkleman dips straight to the bottom, down into 2nd gear. Sorry, 5th gear. It's been a long day once again. I'm not doing too well, am I, Cam?
No, I won't. I won't blame you for having a long day. Don't worry. We've all done it before.
Yeah, well, Winkleman has just gone to pole on that lap, a 1 minute 11.800. So, very good textbook lap of Homestead Miami Speedway from Anthony Winkleman of Trick Sim Sports. So the solo BMW in the field currently circulating is Justin Strickland. I believe we saw him in a BMW the last time I was commentating. I believe that was at Phillip Island. And it looks like Strickland is stuck with the BMW for this round of the championship as well. Not much of an advantage in terms of straight line speed. In fact, the BMW is one of the worst GT3 cars for straight line speed. But on that infield section, I guess Strickland would be someone to contend with.
Yeah, definitely. The BMW is not by any means the quickest thing in a straight line, but through that infield technical section, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how quick he is, because the BMW is actually quite a good car on technical circuits. So going to be interesting to see what actually happens in the race, as if he can actually get quite a good run through that infield section, you may actually be able to hold on to the draft of the guys ahead.
Yeah, certainly. It looks like Strickland just trail braking through that infield section right there and out onto this back stretch. As we go to Trent Thomas, currently sitting in third place for Fusion Sim Racing, coming through the final turn at the moment. About to start a lap, I believe we're hearing. So Trent Thomas braking just after the apex and barely manages to pull it up for turn 2. Struggling with a little bit of oversteer under brakes. But of course, you pretty much need that at Homestead, because a lot of these turns, they're so dependent on that initial turn in that if your car's a little oversteery under brakes, it actually benefits you.
Yeah, it does, especially turn 1, although with turn 1, you kind of have to be a little bit careful with the transition from the oval to the road course, as there is quite a large bump that, should you hit it wrong, you do actually unbalance the car, and it can actually send you quite sideways, as Jay's found out before. But yeah, it's actually going to be interesting to see how well these guys actually manage to get around the circuit.
Yeah, certainly, and as we said, the Mercedes is the car to have here, and most people have gone for the Mercedes up the top of the field. So Trent Thomas there, just testing out the pit entry, of course, because he invalidated that lap. As we go to Martin Silvassi in car 010. Just picking up the throttle out of the final hairpin. Back out onto the oval again. So Silvassi, he's got 3/10 to make up if he wants any chance at pole. Looks like a nice line through those last 2 turns. As he crosses the line here, it looks like he may be starting a lap. Oh, ran a bit wide in turn 1, but that means that he did have a bit of a nicer time braking for turn 2. Bit of compromise needed. Oh dear, round he goes. So that's the lift-off oversteer catching someone out.
Yeah, indeed. That corner's actually a little bit off camber to some extent, so it's quite hard to get the car rotated there, and if it does over-rotate, it's usually going to cause you to end up over-rotating and probably spinning out at some stage.
Yes, indeed. Well, we've just entered the final minute of qualifying here tonight in the Oceanic Sprint Championship, and looks like there's only a few guys out on track, and those who are out on track are testing pit entry. Of course, this being the version of the road course that uses NASCAR 3 and 4, pit entry actually starts before the final turns of the oval, so you can't go for that late pit entry out of the final 2 turns like you can at Indianapolis, for example. You've got to take that tarmac apron and get into the pits nice and early in terms of where you are on the lap. So that's probably going to be a factor when we take the pit stops later on in the race.
Yeah, it definitely will be. As if you don't actually get that pit entry right, you can lose a little bit of time, and if you get it really wrong, you can actually send yourself back onto the racetrack. Unfortunately, sometimes. So it's going to be interesting to see how they manage the pit entry and who's going to actually take advantage of having a better pit entry.
Yeah, well, it looks like qualifying is now over, effectively. Justin Strickland, uh, Dave Oliver and Justin Strickland, probably the only drivers on a lap right now, so we'll wait and see how they do. So Strickland looks like he's testing the pit entry there, so wondering if Oliver will do the same or if he'll try and improve his time. Oliver taking that final hairpin in first gear rather than second, just for a little bit more of a drive, and he's taken a couple of strange lines there. It looks like he is staying out on track. We'll see what Dave Oliver can do here. He currently sits in 12th place, just under a second off pole position, keeping it tight out of the final turn of the oval. That's going to be a 12.778, so that's not an improvement for him, and he's decided to go full NASCAR in a little bit of a finishing move. So I guess that's the grid settled, Cam. Anthony Winkelman is on pole with Ross Rizzo in second. Third is Trent Thomas, Jeremy Franklin in fourth. Martin Silvassi lining up in fifth place with Dan King finishing the top six. Matt Morris in seventh, Brett Hender eighth. Ninth is Mark Rayner, and rounding out the top 10 is Thomas McMillan.
In 11th, we have David Cheelings, followed by Dave Oliver in 12th. 13th, JP Courier. 14th, Justin Strickland. 15th is Scott Sosowski. 16th, TJ Brown. And rounding out the field is Robert Northway.
So there we go. That is a smaller grid than we've seen in rounds of OSC, but it's going to be pretty competitive up the front, as we've seen all season. The ability for drivers to choose the car that they want to drive for every single round has really turned up the racing in this series. And I guess it also serves to show the differences in the cars in the GT3 class. Of course, there's 6 GT3 cars now in iRacing. I remember back in 2013 when the McLaren was the only car. Those were interesting days, but now we've got a full contingent. Technically 7 we're hearing with the Roof RT12R, but of course that's not used in official GT3 competition anymore. It's used as its own series in the wake of iRacing getting its official Porsche license. So in this series, we've got 6 available GT3 cars to use. And, well, let's just have a look at the field here. So we've got the front of the field headed up by Mercedes, and going back through the field, it looks like the top non-Mercedes is Brett Hender in 8th place. And looks like there's a few Ferraris and a lone BMW taking up this field. So 4 Ferraris, 1 BMW, 1 Audi, the rest Mercedes. So we're just waiting for the pace car to pull away now and take us on this pace lap at Homestead Miami Speedway. So we'll just go on a little bit of a tour of this Floridian circuit as the field goes through turn 1. Flat out in most cars. You're braking either at the apex or just after. Very hard for turn 2, this right angle left-hander. And then you're instantly into turns 3 and 4. As you said, Cam, an off-camber left-hander leading straight into a banked right-hander, and it's very important to get your throttle picked up at just the right time, because as you go out through this flat-out left-hander, you're onto this back stretch. It'll be very easy for a rival to send it up the inside into this upcoming right-hander on the infield.
Yeah, definitely. Making sure you get a good exit is very important at this track, especially out of that final hairpin onto the oval. So it's going to be very much a draft fest, and it's going to be very interesting to see who comes out on top tonight.
Yeah, pretty challenging turn this right-hander leading out onto the second of the back stretches. Very easy to spin the car over that exit curb if you turn in just a little bit too late, or too early for that matter. And then it's just a case of waiting down this back stretch. As I said, braking at that light pole very hard into second, possibly first gear for this hairpin. And then because this is the B layout of Homestead, it's flat out from here. So very important to get your exit timed right. Otherwise, once again, you leave yourself open to your rivals. But having said that, they'll probably get a leg up on you anyway if they're close enough, because draft comes into play at this point in the circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. At this point in the circuit, it's definitely going to be all about your racecraft and making sure you can try and get a good slingshot around the car ahead of you. So it's going to be very interesting, and I reckon we'll probably see a bit of a photo finish at the end of the race between a couple of cars. Hopefully we do. But yeah, it's going to be definitely interesting.
Yeah, certainly is. Well, the field is now exiting oval 4. The pace car is going to pull in very shortly, and then the field will come under the control of Anthony Winkleman. Ross Rizzo is just a little bit ahead of him though, but the green flag flies, and it looks like Rizzo will have gotten the jump there, leading across the start-finish line. But as they come into turn 1, this is where things are going to get a bit dicey. Into the braking zone, people going too wide. Oh, they're going almost went 3 wide back in the pack. Coming down to the slowest point of the circuit, we got a spinner.
Someone's gone around.
Yeah, that's the Mercedes there. I think that's McMillan. No, it's
sorry.
King. Dan King. Apologies for that. Oh no, we got another spinner. Brett Hender's been spun there by Dave Oliver. Oh, and another spinner. That's, oh goodness me, absolute carnage here coming onto the back stretch. So that was Strickland involved in that as well. So, oh my goodness. We'll have to get a replay of that just to see what on earth happened. So, Cut Price Racing replay on screen right now. So, let's have a look what happened. King was spun, then Hender came back onto the track and made contact with Oliver. Oliver spun Hender on the exit, and then trying to avoid Oliver and Hender, Scott Kozlowski made contact with the rear end of Justin Strickland and spun him around. Who else was involved in that? TJ Brown as well. So that's unfortunate. We've got a few cars out of contention already. But Anthony Winkleman has taken back the lead from Ross Rizzo. And that is your top 3 as they started. Anthony Winkleman, Ross Rizzo, and Trent Thomas leading your race as they come onto lap 2.
Yeah, not quite an ideal start for a number of these guys, but it's looking fairly close at the moment at the top at the front of the field. So it's going to be interesting to see how close these guys stay throughout the race, and hopefully we see a very close finish at the end.
Yeah, certainly. Well, this is where draft is going to come into play once again. Anthony Winkleman exiting the hairpin, running into the grass slightly. Ross Rizzo got a bit of a cleaner exit. We'll see how well they do coming up to oval 3 and 4. The draft at this point is not as intense as I thought it would be. But the challenge here for Ross Rizzo is to make sure that aero push is minimized so he can get a run out of that turn. It looks like he is getting a bit of a draft. And at this point, I think the aim of the game will be to save fuel in the draft. Lift off a little bit before turn 1. Minimize your time spent in the pits.
Yeah, absolutely. With the restricted fuel tank and not needing to take tyres, it'll definitely be worthy to save a bit of fuel in the draft and lift off a little bit. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who actually takes advantage of that and thinks about that sort of strategy call.
Yeah, it looks to me as though the top four have broken away in their own packs. Martin Silvassi is just holding on to the front here thanks to the draft. Silvassi's got a little bit of damage to the front of his Mercedes, so he'll want to stay in touch as much as possible. Because if he's not in the draft, then that bit of damage will wreak havoc on his straight line speed. Up the top, though, it's staying pretty static as they start lap 4. Rizzo just staying behind Winkelmann, not making any rash moves at this point, this early in the race. Oh, Mark Rayner had a bit of a moment there. Almost. Oh no. Thomas McMillan having to pull up a little bit to keep himself from going into Rayner. So it looked like Rayner just lost it under brakes into turn 1, and now this has brought McMillan into contention for a top 6. Oh, McMillan's going to try and take Rayner around the outside here. Looks like he's going to do it.
And it looks like Soslavsky is possibly going to get a move done as well up the inside of the hairpin here.
Yeah, looks like Rayner. Oh, Rayner not comfortable in that car under brakes, it seems. Moving around in the braking zone, clipping the grass. It looks like McMillan is going to take that position and keep it.
Yeah, he is. He's pulled a fair gap on Soslavsky here, so he should be able to hold on to this position, even with that draft from behind.
JP Courier's just exited the pits after getting some damage repaired. He was one of the cars involved in that turn 1 incident, but Winkelmann and Rizzo have closed up slightly here. Rizzo's actually putting a bit of pressure on Winkelmann through the infield.
Yeah, he is. So if he can hold on, he should be able to eventually make a move here.
But if he does, I question the wisdom of it because, as I said a few moments ago, the amount of fuel you can save at the end of the straight here in that draft will really pay dividends towards the end of the race when the pit stop comes around.
Yeah, absolutely. Plus it is a 45-minute race, so there is plenty of time left in this race at this stage to eventually make a move and get by.
Rizzo just starting out high and dipping low on the oval. Gets a bit of a run. He's closer to Winkelmann now than he was before, but it looks like he's holding station. He's just lifting off past the start-finish line and taking it nice and easy through 1 and 2. So Winkelmann currently in control of this race, but Rizzo not far behind. And when it comes time for the pit window, well, this is going to be a very interesting turn of events, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Rizzo should get a quicker pit stop if he does save enough fuel, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens for sure.
You know, it looks like, oh, Soslavsky spinning. He had just gotten in front of Thomas McMillan, but unfortunately he lost control of his Ferrari under brakes. It's something that we've been seeing with quite a few of the Ferraris this season. Seems to be a characteristic of the car almost, but now Soslavsky, oh goodness, just behind him, Robert Northway and Dan King coming together under brakes. So now King has front end damage and Northway has rear end damage.
Yeah, King already had a little bit of damage from that lap 1 problem.
Northway doesn't look like he has any damage at all. Of course, that could be netcode. It might update soon. But Rizzo in the lead. Looks like he's managed to get past Anthony Winkelmann. Winkelmann ran wide at turn 2. Just an oversteer moment that allowed Rizzo to slip through.
Yeah, just a little bit of a minor mistake, and that's allowed Rizzo to slip on by.
Yeah, and now Rizzo and Winkleman have well and truly broken away from the rest of the field. Looks like a big battle for first.
Oh, that was very close.
Rizzo taking a very wide entry into that hairpin, almost allowed Winkleman to look up the inside, but not quite. So battling for the lead, first and second, and there's also a battle forming for third between Trent Thomas and Jeremy Franklin.
Yeah, there is actually. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I'd say Franklin's probably going to get by on this lap, possibly.
Big draft from Winkleman, but yeah, Franklin really pressuring the back of Thomas here. Backed out of it though, so... Meanwhile, a pack forming behind Thomas McMillan. Oh, goodness me, yeah, look at the draft here that Mark Rayner's got. He's going to try and back out, but oh, goodness me, have a look at that. Dan King is going to go through.
Oh, on both of them.
Yeah, wow. McMillan, I think, was a bit taken by surprise by that maneuver.
Yeah, I think we all were actually. That was quite a late move that he's pulled there, but he's actually managed to make it stick, and he's pulled away actually from the group, so
yeah,
he's done well to do that.
Yes. So the battle that we're looking at now with McMillan at the front with three Ferraris behind him, this is the battle for 6th to 9th in this race. Or 7th to 10th, rather. Apologies for the mess up. Oh, no! Oh,
that's a massive on! He's on his lid!
Wow! Okay. So, that was Robert Northway losing it under brakes. It looks like he just clipped the grass.
Yeah, he did, and then it's just gone seriously wrong there.
Yeah, so he went right into Mark Rayner. Absolutely T-boned him there at the apex of the hairpin. And Scott Kozlowski saw that coming. He was looking in his mirrors and saw Northway sliding and thought, I'll just stay wide, avoid whatever happens. And wow. So Mark Rayner already having an eventful race, but looks like this might have gone some way to completely ruining it as he comes into the pits to take repairs.
Yeah, that was a bit unfortunate. It was not a soft hit either. I'm actually surprised he actually rolled the car with it, how big of a hit it was. So that just goes to show how big it was. And he's actually been very lucky to land back on all four wheels and actually drive back to pit lane. So yeah, that's unfortunate, but sometimes does happen.
Yes, indeed. So I suppose that's a bit of a warning sign for what can happen if you go just a millimetre too far right in the braking for that hairpin. Of course, this place doesn't have tarmac runoff like a lot of racetracks do now. It's grass and gravel. Old-fashioned grass and gravel, which, well, when you're under heavy braking for a hairpin, doesn't exactly help if you run over it.
No, not at all.
Well, either way, the battle up the front still very much on. Anthony Winkleman versus Ross Rizzo for the lead. Looks like they've got lap traffic up ahead. That's Mark Rayner there, who has just taken some repairs. I think Rizzo will be grateful to have a bit of draft from Rayner, depending on when they get to him. Have a look at Winkleman, though. He's got a bit of a run here through Oval 3 and 4, but Rizzo having a couple of internet issues, which is not ideal. Winkleman's going to pull out and go for the move. No. Ooh.
Side by side. This is going to be interesting.
Yeah, it looks like Winkleman's going to go through. Yeah. So Winkleman getting on the brakes there through turn 1, I think, was just stabilizing the car so he could take the inside line without running into Rizzo under brakes, and Winkleman takes the lead back. The question is, will Rizzo attempt to take it back again? Heart says no. Heart says yes, sorry. Head says no.
Yeah, and you kind of have to listen to your head sometimes.
Meanwhile, McMillan and Sislowski battling. That's a change of position there. McMillan goes back to 7th.
Sislowski did originally make a move up the inside at turn 1 on this lap, so good to see McMillan get back. Oh, very deep under brakes as well there.
Yeah, but back to the front meanwhile. Rizzo has taken the position back from Winkelman, but he's run wide through turn 2. So an entertaining little scrap forming here between Winkelman and Rizzo.
Probably actually doing themselves a favour going back and forth, actually, because
Yeah.
helping them pull away from the rest of the field, actually.
Yeah, well, I'm just gonna have a look at their race lap times. It looks like... Franklin was the fastest this lap, but it seems to me that the majority of Rizzo and Winkelman's times have been in the mid to low 12s.
Yeah, so that's going to be quite interesting to see what happens. A little bit more network connection issues for Rizzo there.
Yeah, and that won't exactly fill Winkelman with optimism. Rizzo's now jumping all over the circuit. It looks like Winkelman's decided to stay back this time around. You don't want to push it too far. Oh, goodness me. Lost a bit of front end grip through turn 2. Looks like another battle, another change of position between the All-Star Motorsports guys. McMillan and Sislowski changing positions again across the line. Of course, Dan King is not far ahead of them, so it's entirely possible that McMillan and Sislowski are working together to try and catch back up to Dan King.
Yeah, that could possibly be the case, actually, as it wouldn't be a silly move to do.
So it looks like the battle for third has quietened down somewhat. Franklin falling off the back of Thomas and Silvassi falling even further back. Battle for the front, though, still pretty close. Ross Rizzo just struggling for grip through turn 3. Gotta get the line just right through turn 3, otherwise that lack of camber plus a little bit of surface change, there's a strip of concrete by the apex, it could throw you off pretty badly. Ooh, Winkelman, goodness me, almost contact there in the hairpin. Looks like Rizzo's come out a little better though. So how are they going to go across the line on this lap? It looks like Winkelman is close enough to Rizzo to attempt a move. We might see another lead change here. No, Winkelman's going to stay back. Oh, really deep under brakes though. It's challenging, that section of circuit, when you're following another car. Very hard to balance your car and keep yourself from going off into that grass there. But McMillan and Sislowski once again. Lead change in the middle of the oval. And Sislowski's going to come back on McMillan here. Going to go side by side through turn 1, and Sislowski is going to take the position back again. Oh, Rizzo, very wide entry into the hairpin. He's getting that exit nailed pretty much. We're now 20 minutes into this race.
Yes, indeed. So a little bit near the halfway mark.
What's going to happen here? Rizzo v Winkelmann into turn 1 again. Winkelmann just holding back. Ooh, yeah, Winkelmann much faster through turn 3. Also going very deep under brakes, taking that late apex. And you see there again, Winkelmann taking a bit more of a direct line. McMillan, though, oh goodness me, looks like he's come around at turn 2. Let's have a look at what happened there. Looks like he just lost it under brakes.
Yeah, just slightly too much oversteer and it sent him round, unfortunately.
Yeah. Looks like he overcompensated a little bit, braked a bit too late, and he just tried turning in the wrong time for the turn. So now he is facing a bit of pressure from Matt Morris. Well, Winkelmann and Rizzo, it's still going on, and now that it's at the halfway point of the race, question is, who is going to pit first?
I'd probably say Rizzo's going to have to pit first, as Winkelmann's actually been sitting behind Rizzo for a number of laps now, so he's probably saved a little bit more fuel than Rizzo has.
Well, neither of them have gone for the pits yet, and they're coming around to start lap 18. This is probably going to be a 36, 38 lap race, just as a rough estimate. So the predictometer says 38. We'll see how well that works out. Winkelmann, you can riding on board with him, and I can hear him. He's saving fuel in every braking zone, just doing that old lift and coast maneuver. Rizzo, unfortunately, does not have that luxury.
No, he doesn't, as he's pretty much got to be at full throttle if he wants to stay ahead of Winkelmann here.
Yeah, well, they say that it's easier to chase than be chased, and I guess that's no more true than it is here. They always look like they're on the edge of losing it in turn 2. They probably are. You can see Winkelmann is taking that much more direct line through turn 3 than Rizzo is. Get the feeling that Winkelmann's car likes the curbs a little bit better.
Yeah, and that's definitely showing that there's quite a bit of difference in the setups between the two cars. As Winkelmann's probably got the car a little bit more softer to handle the curbs, whereas Rizzo's probably a little bit stiffer, so he's having to stay away from the curbs as Winkelmann gets very close under brakes there.
So we're officially at the halfway point of this race. Have a look at the run that Winkelmann is getting through the oval 3 and 4, staying in the draft of Rizzo. Is he going to back out or is he going to go for the maneuver? Oh, he had a bit of a look, but looks like he just decided to stay behind once again.
Oh, that was very close on the brakes into turn 3 there.
It certainly was, and yeah, I get the feeling, you can tell Rizzo's set up his car to be a bit better under throttle. Because Winkelmann really catching up to him under brakes and over the curbs, but when you actually put the hammer down, Rizzo just gains a tiny bit. Have a look at that right there. Rizzo pulls a gap on corner exit, but Winkelmann is going to get it back here through the oval. He's even closer this time. What's Winkelmann going to do here? Just lifts out of it. Runs a bit wide in turn 2, but he keeps it on the track.
I think if there is one thing that Winkelmann needs to work on, it's that exit out of that hairpin onto the oval. Is he'll need to start actually working on that, starting to get it, well, improving it if he wants to actually try and get a move done come the last lap of the race where he can get a draft and slingshot by Rizzo here.
Yes, indeed. And it looks like Matt Morris has gotten past Thomas McMillan. Got 7 seconds on him. I'm not sure where that came from. Looks like McMillan's just got a lack of pace compared to Morris, and looks like he had another little oopsie at the opening of one particular lap. Either way, that's that sorted for them. And, well, Winkelmann versus Rizzo, still incredibly close. Looks like Rizzo just ran a bit wide in turn 3. So now this gives Anthony Winkelmann the chance to do the over-under. But it looks like he doesn't have quite the advantage that he needs. He's going to have a look here, just weave around in Rizzo's mirrors, give him a bit of a giddy-up. So Rizzo's done very well to hold the lead so far, but it seems some cracks might be starting to show.
Winkelmann's right there now. He's actually very close now. He's actually going to be able to get by.
Yeah, looks like it. Winkelmann's going to go for the inside here, out of the oval, side by side across the start-finish line, and Rizzo is just going to let him go here. Very nice job from both of those guys.
And now I think what will happen is Rizzo will start to use Winkelmann's draft as a bit of a way to save fuel, I reckon.
Yep. Oh, Winkelmann ran wide. Another alternative is Rizzo goes for the pits now that he's lost the lead. Attempt to undercut Winkelmann a bit. Now it looks like Rizzo isn't going to go for it this time. However, he is very close coming out of the oval. Quite the draft. But I don't think he's going to go for the move. Oh, whoa, whoa, hold on a minute.
That was close.
Very deep from both of those guys under brakes. Of course, that ABS keeping them in check. But still, that was almost a lunge from Rizzo. We've had about half an hour of racing now. Looks like most cars have stayed out of the pits.
Yeah, I'd say most cars will be trying to stretch it for as long as possible to have as short of a stop as possible to make sure they don't take too much fuel.
Yeah, the top two stay out once again. Rizzo, a little bit more controlled under brakes into one. Ooh, a little bit of oversteer from Rizzo, coming off that curb. Once again, staying out, so these guys are leaving it until the last possible moment.
Yeah, that seems to be the case at the moment.
Oh, Silvassi coming into the pits. Yep, McMillan. Looks like McMillan pitted before him, so McMillan first to blink with Silvassi, second into his pit box. So I get the feeling that pit lane is going to be a flurry of activity in the next couple of laps as all of the Mercedes jump in. So let's have a look at what the leaders do. They're not.
Stay out.
Yeah, once again. Because they're so close together, they're probably... Ooh, Rizzo almost thought about a move there. They're probably monitoring each other. So one will only pit when the other does.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably going to be the case. It's going to be reaction test war. Rizzo getting very close there.
Yeah, Winkelmann was able to line up that late apex though and get straight on the throttle. Alright, so they're coming up to the end of their lap 27. So 12 and a half minutes left in the race, and the leaders stay out yet again. Trent Thomas and Jeremy Franklin have continued to stay out.
No, Thomas is coming to pit lane actually.
Oh.
And
Alright
so is
then.
Frank.
So Thomas and Franklin both into the pits. All right, so basically everyone except for the leaders and TJ Brown and Kozlowski as well. So the Ferraris have been able to go on for a bit longer. Kozlowski comes into the pits, so we can expect... Wait a minute, has TJ Brown just come out of the pits because his last lap was a 36.5? I suppose he has. Alright, so there we go. That's everyone except the leaders in. And I tell you what, Matt Morris and Thomas McMillan, they're closer than they were before. So Rizzo in, Winkelmann stays out. Oh, and Thomas McMillan's just spun out of turn 2. He's going to try and get it turned around safely as cars come through.
It's almost a replica copy, or carbon copy of what he did earlier in the race, actually.
Yeah. Been watching McMillan through turn 2 and... Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Winkelmann's in the pits as well.
Both of them are.
Okay, so both of them came in together. But Winkelmann came in after the oval banking.
So he'll get a stop-go penalty for that.
He wasn't allowed to do that. Like, of course, iRacing allowed it, but I don't believe Oceanic Racing does in their rulebook. So I'm not sure what the go is there. Hold on, I'm just gonna double check the briefing. Oh, so we're just hearing that he may have gotten a black flag because of a 24-second pit stop, so that's basically destroyed Winkelmann's race, unfortunately. And only a 10-second stop for Rizzo. Wow.
Yeah, so just a little bit of a brain fade, I think, on Winkelmann's part. So that's unfortunately cost him quite a bit of time, actually.
Right behind Franklin, so not good. So that's Winkelmann by Franklin. And in all of this, it's promoted Trent Thomas to second, so... Wow, just very unfortunate for Anthony Winkelmann. If he had taken the pit entry correctly, then he might have just been able to hold off Rizzo. So Martin Silvassi and Dan King are now one of the closest battles on track. So this is a fight for a position in the top 5 here. Oh, and King running a little wide on entry. Let's have a look here. Will Silvassi attempt to move under brakes? No. Not quite close enough. See how they go here through the oval, though. Silvassi's very close, so a draft is going to work. King's just staying low, though, protecting that line. Oh, and just leaving Silvassi enough room to come up the inside, and I think that's going to be move done there. Oh, no, King almost came back on him. Oh, goodness me. So, Martin Silvassi...
Flipping the grass by the looks of it.
So Silvassi and Winkelmann, Trick Sim Sports, not having a good
Oh, King's got around as well.
Oh, goodness.
Later.
What happened to King? Oh, he's just managed to get going again, so... Oh, wow.
This was no rotated on him.
really unfortunate. So now looks like Silvassi has been able to get a jump on King as a result of King's incident, and now Dan's under pressure here from McMillan and Courier. Oh no, they're both laps down. My mistake. Oh, goodness me. Jeremy Franklin almost into the back of Anthony Winkleman. Coming into
Yeah, that was
turn
very
3.
lucky.
Wow. Oh, hang on a minute.
Not sure what happened there.
Winkleman must have gotten a slowdown. Because I saw him get on the brakes very early. Yeah, what on earth happened there? That's very strange.
I don't think he got a slowdown because
Nah,
he didn't go off
didn't
track or
cut.
anything.
Yeah. That's odd. Hardware issue, maybe.
Yeah, possibly.
Director suggesting a cat on the keyboard. That's entirely possible as well. So we've got 5.5 minutes left to go in round 8 of the Oceanic Sprint Championship here at Homestead Miami Speedway, and Ross Rizzo has got a commanding lead of this race right now by nearly 8 seconds over Trent Thomas. Anthony Winkleman another 7 or so seconds behind. Gradually pulling away from Jeremy Franklin. Oh, McMillan versus Courier. Oh, they're making contact here. These guys are actually racing, even though they're Courier's a lap down on McMillan. Obviously, he's making a bit of a statement here, letting McMillan know that he's faster and he wants to be let through, and seems that he's gotten that done. Oh, McMillan disappearing from the circuit, having a couple of internet issues there. Alright, 4 minutes left in the race, and it looks as though the race has settled down well and truly now, Cam.
Yeah, it definitely has by the looks of it. And we shouldn't be too far away from a finish with only a couple of minutes left.
I mean, thinking about it, story of the season, Ross Rizzo and his ability to stay out of trouble. He's going to pick up a win here. Actually, his first win of the season, despite the fact that he's led the championship for quite a few rounds.
Yeah, it's actually going to be quite good for him, with him being in the championship lead, to finally grab a win. It's all about being consistent in championships like this. You're not going to win it in the first round, but you can in the last. So it's all about being consistent and making sure you get constant point finishes.
That's exactly right, and also making sure that you don't fall afoul of rules, regulations, cut tracks, etc. In that respect, Rizzo's done everything right. So when Rizzo crosses the line next, it should be 2 to go. So as he comes out of oval 3 and 4 to start his penultimate lap, Ross Rizzo setting another low 112. Something's happened to Matt Morris, we're hearing. His car looks a little more damaged than it was when I last saw him.
Oh, he's gone off at turn
Yeah.
2. Just braked slightly too late, and he's run 1, gone actually quite far out, actually.
Yeah, lost it coming out of turn 1 under brakes and just came on ahead of David Jellings. But had to delay his re-entry to the circuit. Having a look at gains and losses throughout the field, looks like Scott Kozlowski is the big winner out of all of this. Started 15th and currently running in 7th place. His driver chat is being disabled and 1 minute to go in the race. Or is this the last lap? I'm not quite sure. So this is white flag here for Ross Rizzo. Turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, the triple left-hander to begin the lap here at Homestead. And I mean, we said it before, didn't we, Cam? He's just been Mr. Consistency. And it's going to net him a victory.
Yep, it sure is, and he'll be pretty happy with that, if I'm totally honest, as he's done so well so far this season, and he's been so close to winning, and he's finally going to get that elusive win.
Yeah, I just noticed TJ Brown had a spin on the infield, but he's managed to get going again. Just getting a quick replay of that. Either way, Ross Rizzo, he's only got 1 turn to go, or 2 turns to go, depending on how you count the turns. Ross Rizzo for Proforce Racing. He leads the championship currently, despite not having picked up a race win all season up until now. His first win of the season coming in round 8, Ross Rizzo, consolidating that championship lead very nicely. Victory at Homestead. Trent Thomas behind him is going to come home in second with Anthony Winkleman. What might have been for him. He was fighting for the win all race, but comes home still a very strong third.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunate that he made that little bit of a mistake, but he still managed to get on the podium, so a good drive from him.
So JP Courier and Thomas McMillan on screen. Still involved in a battle here. They're not on the same lap, but it looks like McMillan has gotten past Courier again. So that'll be that settled in terms of on-track position anyway. McMillan very slow through that last part of the oval. Looks like they're going to cross the start-finish line. Not quite side by side. Courier is going to come through and pick up 12th position. Thomas McMillan picking up a top 10. Matt Morris, meanwhile, out of fuel, coming across to the start-finish line. Of course, he's not going to face any pressure from McMillan, who just got the checker himself, but Matt Morris coasting across the line with no fuel left in his engine.
He actually did that through the entire turn 2, NASCAR turn 2 and 3 and 4, sorry, section. So he's actually very lucky to have made it across the start finish.
Yeah, definitely. Well, there we go. That is that's race done pretty much here at Homestead for round 8 of the Oceanic Sprint Championship. Results are on screen. Ross Rizzo takes your race win with Trent Thomas coming home in second, taking advantage of an error in pit entry from Anthony Winkleman, who comes home in third. Jeremy Franklin in 4th place with Martin Silvassi coming home a quiet 5th. Dan King in 6th with Scott Kozlowski up to 7th from 15th. David Jellings in 8th. Matt Morris in 9th place, coasting across the line out of fuel. And Thomas McMillan, the first car a lap down, in 10th place.
Then we go back to 11th with TJ Brown, 12th JP Courier, and the rest of the finishers: Mark Rayner, Robert Northway, Dave Oliver, Brett Hender, and Justin Strickland.
Well, there we go. That was another good round of the Oceanic Sprint Championship at Homestead here, Cam. And yeah, I mean, I suppose it was quite the interesting one, type of circuit that we don't usually race at. But next week we're going to another slipstreamy circuit in Monza, the Grand Prix layout. So a full field of cars coming into Retifilia, that turn 1 tight chicane. Well, it's going to be interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens and who can actually come out on top in that one.
Yep, I get the feeling it'll be another Mercedes race with that straight line speed advantage, but we'll come to that when it happens next week. Thank you very much for joining us for the Oceanic Sprint Championship here on V8's Online. Ross Rizzo was your race winner. We'll see you next week at Monza.